Good evening, everybody. We went live just a little bit early because YouTube Studios was giving me some weirdness, and so was Jitsi. So we wanted to make sure everything was functioning. If anybody can type in the chat, make sure audio is okay. Now we have 3 concurrent viewers here. We started a little bit early.
Yeah, right now the YouTube channel says waiting for Adrian.
Okay.
It's
Well,
got
hopefully,
a big picture of your Irongeek guy.
it shows something else here soon. Because now I'm actually getting the preview in YouTube Studio, and I just saw your face come up on the screen. It's always a little delay.
My face.
Let me also check the preview. Also, let me make sure I didn't stupidly set this to private for some reason. Yeah, it says public.
Oh, nothing yet.
All right, it's showing it on mine when I go to that URL.
The watch URL, does it end in F0 or FO?
No, and 34.
Right. I'm watching I guess a different stream then.
Crap. You know what? Because I started playing around with your StreamYards real quick, and I think that probably screwed things up. Crap. So I'm going to need to get into YouTube Studio and kill the one that is not valid.
Yeah, you've got 2 of them up right now. Under latest from Adrian.
Oh, well. Annoyances.
Right. So this one's up. The second stream is up.
Okay.
And it's got me.
All right. The upcoming one, I'm assuming, is the one that probably needs to go down.
I got to get a higher resolution camera.
Yeah. You're recording with a potato.
Well, I am a potato, so it makes sense.
Okay. I've just deleted that one. And who knows how many people may have been trying to watch on that one that's not working. The one I tweeted out should be the correct one. I'm going to have to mess around with StreamYard just to see. There's some debate because the documentation that I saw in the past and the ones that Darren just read off to me says that normally we can only have 6 people on the screen at one time. But something indicated when I tried to log in again that you can get more people.
Comprende.
Okay, why is it taking forever in StreamYard to delete that? That's lovely. Did I not kill something properly?
I just ordered a better webcam, so maybe I won't look like a potato next week.
Okay, it deleted that one, so hopefully that one's gone. And hopefully I did accidentally delete the one that's currently streaming. I don't think I did.
Nope, it's still up.
Awesome. Well, we're actually
here. He says we're online.
Cool. Thanks, Todd. All right. In that case, we'll actually begin the real show. Welcome to Irongeek Cast, or more like Frank Cast 177. Profit from non-profits. How's everybody doing tonight?
Oh, doing all right. Hanging in there.
Oh, by the way, I remember talking to you about show notes. I mentioned something about after the more. I've always put in URLs instead of just highlighting text.
Yep.
The reason I do that is I remember the scumbag. When someone leaked the Demore document, and some scumbag journalist copied and pasted it into the article. But since everything was it was all text that was hyperlinked, they only got the text. And then some other jackasses was saying he didn't source any of this. Yeah, actually, he sourced it extensively. If you saw the original document.
Mm-hmm.
However, you have to have the original document, which had the hyperlinked text, which is why I do that.
So he did not copy the rich text format version of the document.
He didn't get the actual URL because Damore put URLs in there for everything he was talking about, but they didn't come through because the person just copied and pasted it as text as opposed to getting the hyperlinks. Which is why if I put the URLs in there, if someone copies and pastes it, at least the URL's in there.
Mm-hmm.
So how's everybody doing tonight?
We're doing all right. What do you mean by profit from nonprofits? It's an interesting choice for a title.
Oh, there was a tweet I retweeted from, don't remember the person's name, where he was listing how much money various executive officers at charities make. And there's some other situations that have been happening recently that I'm like, yeah, this person's working for this nonprofit. I'm pretty sure they're making a pretty penny on it. I don't think I ever want to give money to this particular nonprofit. I kind of
bad charities out there.
What was that?
So there are a lot of bad charities out there that they take a lot of money in, but they don't actually use that money for what they say they're going to.
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, kind of like Red Cross, the American Red Cross, I should say.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them out there. There's just a lot of mental health charities and cancer charities are bullshit. Like that, I think it's Susan B. Komen for the Cure.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
They're listed as one of the worst charities in that they take in shit tons of money and then they spend very little of that money for actual cancer research and the things that they claim they're going to spend it on. They actually spend more money on advertising to get more money that they then spend on advertising to get more money. It's like keep getting money to advertise so that they can get more money. Crazy shit. All right. So in the show notes, under announcements, we have all cons are canceled or gone digital. You know this already.
Yeah, pretty much. The only one I know that hasn't canceled as of yet, to my knowledge, I don't know if HackerCon is canceled, though I haven't checked real recently.
Gotcha. And Hope is this Saturday if you have a ticket for the digital version of it.
See, the online thing just doesn't.
It's not the same. It's not, but I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess.
Maybe we just, when they had in-person cons, we can breed a type of hacker who just can't, die.
Yeah.
Yeah, a HackerCon is, at least according to the website, still listing November 4th through the 8th. Though I haven't checked the Twitter feed, so maybe that might be different. But to my knowledge, but then again, it's November. You'd hope the worst this be over with by that point.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah, they're saying it could be a while before we get that vaccine, and it might be till next year. So you never know.
Well, most vaccines, I'm not saying the fast tracking this to get it out in like a year or so. There's one thing I've heard out there. By the way, you hear all sorts of things. Granted, don't take anything I say as gospel because I hear a lot of bullshit online, and I hear how do you put it this way, non-matching reports on what things are happening. Doesn't the normal vaccine take about 3 years to develop?
Yeah, but they kind of fast tracked it by like waiving some of the things you normally have to do as far as stringent testing is concerned, which kind of makes me concerned about the final product a little bit. But
yeah, I've known a few people in the hacker community who have gotten it. Some confirmed and some just suspected got it because of the timing and the symptoms. Because they didn't have a whole lot of testing in some of the earlier stages. But yeah. I know one of my buddies has tested positive for antibodies, and I know my buddy's apparently tested positive, and he had a pretty bad time for a couple of weeks there, but he's doing better now.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I've been lucky enough not to catch it yet. I'm hoping I don't.
Yeah. Well, I have a slight comorbidity in that I'm more overweight than I used to be. I've become more of an aluminum geek than Irongeek. But yeah, a lot of it has to do with comorbidities. Obesity is one of them.
Yeah, I've got obesity too, and I've also now got diabetes, which is
that's not good.
Yeah.
Do you smoke? Okay, that's good. I only vape, which I don't think is supposed to be nearly as bad, but
yeah, depends on the doctor. So we've got some great stuff in the show notes for you guys this week.
Sure. Darren, actually, do you have anything you want to announce?
No, not really. Just kind of dealing with shit day by day. So.
Well, in that case, we'll roll into the show notes.
Excellent. So the first thing we've got is Lorien Health Services discloses ransomware attack affecting nearly 50,000 people. A lot of people for ransomware attack to affect.
But now, by affecting 50,000, I'm assuming they got customer records of 50,000. But if ransomware is leaking it out, it's supposed to be encrypting the hard drive and asking you to pay to get a key to be able to decrypt it. Do these people also exfiltrate the data in this case?
Yes. So the data was stolen during the incident, and the data that was stolen included social security numbers.
So this is both ransomware and a breach.
Yeah. Well, I think now a lot of them are combined because a lot of the ransomware gangs have realized they can make more money by exfiltrating the data, and then if they don't pay that ransom, they can then try and auction off that data. So they're going to make money either way if they're able to get the data. So they might as well exfiltrate it, not just do some run-of-the-mill ransomware. So it's a family-owned nursing home for elders. They run 9 locations in Baltimore, Carroll, Hartford, and Howard counties, and they're also a rehabilitation and fitness facility. About June 6th, they realized that they had an incident, and they contacted a cybersecurity expert to start an investigation. A couple days later, it came to pass that the hackers had indeed accessed the social security numbers, date of birth, address, health diagnosis, and treatment information on many, many people, 47,754 people to be exact. They got all that data, they exfiltrated it successfully, and they took a screenshot of it and sent it to them as a proof that they had it. So this is the NetWalker ransomware. It was originally called Mail2, and these people target corporate networks, and they go after remote desktop hacks. Essentially, looking for OpenRDP, which a lot of places have, which they shouldn't. And especially with this whole work from home environment, a lot of places are like they don't know how to do work from home securely, so they'll just open up RDP on a port and leave it exposed to the internet and tell their people, yeah, just remote into this computer from your computer at home with Microsoft Windows RDP. So it happens. Typically, these kind of attacks, when they happen, they have to inform the FBI that this happened. So they did, and they let them know, and they're cooperating, hoping maybe they can help them catch the perpetrators. They're not going to pay the ransom. The data is already out there, so I guess they have to hopefully restore from backup. Hopefully you've got backups. If you don't have backups, well, if you do, at least follow the 3-2-1 rule. And if you don't, get something.
Then again, in this case, even if they have backups, the people probably still, what's the term? Extorting them because they have the data.
Yeah. We're demoing a pretty cool product at work called Ransomware Rewind, where essentially an agent sits on the computer, and if the shit gets encrypted, they're able to extract the key out of memory and get you a decryption key without you having to pay for the ransomware people.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it's cool shit. All right, next. As cyber attacks surge, digital distancing could limit exposure. So, digital distancing in this case means using precautions to limit the risk of cyber attacks on personal and business networks. Since the whole work from home thing has started, we've seen a 238% increase in cyber attacks, according to VMware's Carbon Black division. And adopting digital distancing is just as important as social distancing during this health crisis. What do they mean by digital distancing? Well, the concept of digital distancing is theoretically very similar to social distancing. Social distancing means you take preemptive precautions to maintain physical distance from others with the goal of limiting potential spread of COVID-19. Digital distancing is much the same, except instead of physical precautions, these precautions are focused on cyberspace and limit the potential risk of intrusions from malicious actors affecting ourselves and those using our networks.
This is not a new term for something we pretty much do already with things like VPNs and such.
I think it's a way of explaining to end users why they have to do things like use VPNs and kind of make a what's it called? Like a I can't remember the word. Anyway, it's like making a comparison so that the users can understand it better. It's like, this is like this, If you were running like a cybersecurity division of a company, and you have to talk to the regular people and explain to them why they can't just maybe open RDP and go right into the network that way, and they have to instead use a VPN, you have to maybe use a concept like this where you're explaining it's just like how you do regular distancing. Well, this is digital distancing. Maybe it's like an analogy. That was the word I was looking for. All right. So the logic is straightforward, yada, yada, yada. They really go into a lot here, and then they get to the bottom, and they get the shit you should actually do. Utilize both router networks. So you can separate your Wi-Fi from your home network if you want to, so that they can't talk to one another. You can use a VPN if you're going to be logging into work. You can create strong passwords, which you should be doing anyway. And maybe get a password manager so you use a separate strong password for each site. Use next-gen antivirus, including on Macs, because Macs can also get infected, despite what people think. And just use good judgment online, which
I would say you should be using a VPN anyways. If you're doing work from home, you should always be VPNing in. You shouldn't allow most things out of your network without a VPN.
right. So I agree with you.
I never think for a corporate environment and so forth, and to protect that kind of thing. One of the things that gets me is I watch a lot of YouTube videos where people are hawking different VPN services, saying how it's going to protect you online, which to a degree it will, but depends on how much you trust your VPN provider not to sniff your traffic.
Yeah, that reminds me that a VPN provider actually last week had their logs leaked online. I didn't put that in the show notes because I don't remember where the article is, but essentially they claimed to be a VPN that did not log anything, and then their logs got leaked online. They showed they did log a whole bunch of things.
Yeah. Also, VPN is not necessarily going to protect you from drive-by malware if you go to a website you shouldn't have gone to, and
Right.
you have outdated software.
Of course. I mean, it's going to protect you in the sense that it's going to anonymize not even anonymize. If you're using one that's designed to hide where you're coming from, yeah. But if you're using like your work VPN, it's obviously not going to do that. But I mean, it will, at the very least, make it so that you can have a secure connection between your computer at home and your computer in the office. So that in and of itself is pretty important, because they have some really bad ideas when it comes to work from home and how they're gonna let employees work from home. Like some places will buy a TeamViewer license and just be like, yeah, just use TeamViewer, and that is not necessarily the best idea. I mean, TeamViewer is a great program and all, but if you're gonna do work from home the right way, you should have like a tunnel established. And
Yeah. VPN and using if you use Cisco VPN, you have it check for policies and enforce policies, so that way you don't have someone sending a personal device to your network, and
right.
basic shit.
Very good. I've seen companies give out little devices that are like routers, and you put it on your network, and essentially it tunnels all your traffic for you. And
Yeah, those are great, because that's a smart idea, because
but now you're tunneling everything on your home network to the work network. So what if you've got a compromised device on the home network?
That's okay. That's a fair point. Yeah. I mean, if you're doing that as like a Wi-Fi hotspot, where it basically broadcasts a network that only the your work equipment can talk to,
Mhm.
that's cool. But yeah, if you're tunneling everything, I wouldn't trust it then, because you have no idea what of yours they're watching, what of yours they're not.
Also, there are some decisions to be made if you're going to let your employees VPN into work. Are you going to do split tunneling, or are you going to do a full tunnel? And if you do split tunneling, that can be great for some places, but other places might want to inspect all the traffic that is going through the employees' computers. So yeah, there's different. I mean, split tunneling is great because you save on the bandwidth cost, and
Yeah.
so they're going to use their own internet when they're surfing the web and shit. But if they want to access company resources, they can still hit them.
I kind of like split VPN because I don't want my 4chan traffic to go there.
Exactly. What if
Well,
you're torrenting something and you log into the work network? Now it looks like you're torrenting from work.
yeah, the thing with split network though, you can also use proxies and policies that way to monitor what they're doing, make sure they're not accessing something either disallowed or dangerous.
Right. But it's a lot
So
harder to filter somebody's internet when they're working from home. There's a lot of ways
yeah,
to go around it, So, um, I mean, I've seen some companies use software that actually will screenshot their employees' computers periodically and then send them to the boss, and you're like, take a look at this. They have a little panel, and they look in there and they see like little screens of everybody's stuff, maybe updated like every 30 seconds to see if they're fucking around. I wouldn't want to work for a company that did that, just because it's like, what if you want to take a 5-minute break and go hit Reddit? It's like, so what? If as long as you got your work done, it doesn't matter.
yeah. One of my contractors I worked at many years ago, they had cameras all over the building, and they would watch you like all the time. It was like really unnerving. Not, I don't mean like cameras on your computer. I mean like CCTV cameras that they could walk into remotely and watch.
They like to watch.
Yeah, they did.
So a couple of years ago, it's probably past the statute of limitations by now. So I was working for a company, and the bosses were dicks, and I was the network admin, and despite that, they had me doing a lot of help desk shit. They were busting my balls, and I came in like 5 minutes late one day when I normally come in like half an hour early every day, and they decided to write me up for it because they saw it on the camera. So I launched an exploit at the DVR system and just took the whole shit down. I probably shouldn't have said that.
Damn. Yeah, that's something you probably shouldn't admit on there.
I doubt anybody will ever put that together. But yeah, it was great. Moving forward, um, we've got ransomware attacks jump as crooks target remote working, which fits right into what we're talking about, so it works well. Ransomware attacks surged during the first half of this year because cyber criminals are looking to spread their file encrypting malware while people are working from home. Analysis of the activity published by Skybox Security's 2020 Vulnerability and Threat Trends Report, which is like 40 pages, don't read it, says that ransomware has thrived in the first half of the year with a 72% increase in new samples of file encrypting malware. And the ransomware attacks, with them come a large number of organizations that are trying to switch to work from home, and they're targeting those organizations. Now, if you actually monitor a SIM all day long, you'll see that in the ET Pro rule set, they actually now have rules whenever somebody goes to a URL that's got the word COVID in it, because there's so many lures out there and phishing scams that have COVID-19 as the bait that gets people to click them. And so just a thing there. So what is also clear is a lot of people do not have good cybersecurity training. And because of that, and the fact that they're now working from home, cyber criminals are having a field day getting them to do stupid shit. So because ransomware is so brutally successful at locking down a vast swath of infrastructure and rendering networks completely unusable, in many cases, the victims feel that the only option is to pay the ransom, which is often, paid in Bitcoin. So I've seen some that are doing Monero now. So several new ransomware campaigns have actively targeted healthcare and pharmaceuticals, and they are using COVID-19 related treatment and research as a bait. There are 77 ransomware campaigns during the first few months of the pandemic that targeted mission-critical research systems and labs. And this goes on like that. I mean, it's a typical report on ransomware and what's going on now. So it's nothing special, but it goes through the same kind of precautions, have strong credentials, use VPNs, have firewalls, have people monitoring your network so they can see if shit's happening, all that fun stuff.
It does seem like a lot of these stories are kind of repetitive of the same stuff that happens over and over again.
I know, so I try to cut it out because it's like I don't want to read the same thing over and over again, but a lot of these articles, it's as if somebody's just copying and pasting from article to article with the recommendations and the random shit about the ransomware attacks. Next article is a little different. So we all know Ma Bell sucks. AT&T sucks, and now they're doing this thing where they're sending out notices rather, to subscribers who have somewhat modern phones and telling them that their phone is not going to work in the near future and that they need to get a new device. And this notice itself was actually so poorly written and worded that a lot of people thought it was fake, but it turns out it was a legitimate communication from AT&T. So the gist is they're turning off their 3G network, right? But most phones don't use 3G. Most nowadays use 4G. And they sent people this notice who are on 4G phones. So a lot of these people were very confused. Apparently, if you don't have one of their pre-approved phones that they sell, they're telling you that your phone's going to stop working. And they've got a list of 25 phones that they say these are the approved phones that will work on our network, and the rest of them they're telling people, hey, your shit's not going to work anymore. Whether or not that's actually going to happen, who knows? Maybe it's just a ploy to get people to buy new phones. Regardless, I mean, you turn off the 3G network, the 4G is going to still work. So I don't know. It goes on. It shows the statement. It's
I'm looking forward to getting a new phone here as soon as the next, what is it? The Pixel 5 XL, I think is what's coming out this fall.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I didn't know they did. I thought the 4 was the next one. Wow, shows how out of loop I am.
Yeah, 4 came out. I think like the 4A or something came out more recently.
Yeah, the 4A was just popped in the store recently, but it's not actually available for sale yet. They put it in the store accidentally and then took it out.
Yeah, the 4A, my understanding, is a cheaper version of the 4. Correct?
Right. I have the 3A, and it's actually a really good phone. It's a lot cheaper than the 3, and it's got pretty much all the same features.
I got a 3XL, but unfortunately, the battery's swelling. I think maybe because I was spraying it down with Lysol. I don't know.
Nah, that wouldn't do that.
You don't think I would do that? And it's not working right. The buttons are misaligned. And the next one coming out is going to have a couple of different cameras on it, one of which is going to have, my understanding, a real zoom on it.
Oh, neat.
Also, I think one of the cameras is going to be like a wide angle.
That should be cool.
When I go hiking someplace in nature, it'd be nice to be able to get up close to the deer and so forth.
Yeah, we've actually got some really nice places to go hiking on Long Island. I was at Comiset State Park on the island recently, and it is beautiful there. It's like really one of the prettiest places I've seen in my lifetime.
I go hiking a place called Lapping Park in Clarksville, Indiana, which is nice enough, and a place I really like to go, as long as I make sure I spray myself down to make sure I don't get chiggers or whatever the hell those things would ate me up a couple years ago. This place called Mount St. Francis up in Floyd's Knobs. I don't know what the city is actually called, but it's basically a Franciscan monastery where they do dog training and all that, because Saint Francis was like the patron saint of animals, and they have a cool little like Stations of the Crosswalk, and I'm not a particularly I'm an agnostic, but or as I like to say it, I'm religious but not spiritual. But it is a really pretty place to go out and walk, and people have done all sorts of little building projects to make little bridges and little chapels, and it's a neat area to go hike.
Cool. Yeah, I like going hiking. It's fun.
Actually, where I want to go out is to Tuttle Mill a Boy Scout camp again. Though I'm not sure what the legality of me going on that property is. I mean, it's fairly open, but it's owned by the Boy Scouts of America, to my knowledge, or maybe one of the local troops. But there's some really cool stuff out there. It's like the old mills breakdown and old cemetery, and all sorts of ghost legends. But I imagine that's the case with all Boy Scout camps.
Oh, for sure.
Sorry, side note. Sidetrack. But
Oh, that's good. I was a Boy Scout. I didn't make it to Eagle, but made it to Life, which is pretty high up there.
I sort of got kicked out of 2 troops, but that's a story for a different time.
Yeah, that happens. So next we have the Prometi botnet explains why Windows SMB exploits Windows SMB to mine cryptocurrency. So SMB vulnerabilities are huge. If you've got SMB facing the internet, your systems administrator is just a moron. But it happens, and people scan for it, and they get in that way.
I think only in my pen testing career, which I don't do pen testing as much anymore. But while I was doing it, I think I only encountered one time when I saw it external.
Yeah, I mean, it like I said, it happens, but it's rare. So. A report that was shared with ZDNet from Talos. These people who make the Prometi malware, Prometi, have been making the rounds since about March, and they have built a botnet that is pretty good and is being used right now to mine Monero, or XMR, as some people call it, or XMRig. Excuse me. Prometi's infection chain begins with a compromise of the Windows SMB via essentially they're using Eternal Blue, which works a lot, and blue screens shit a lot, which is why it's called blue. They also, once they're in, they use Mimikatz, and they'll brute force and try and find some stolen credentials and pass them back to the C2 server. They will also use RDP if it's open. They've got 15 executable modules in their botnet software, and each module does something useful. One focuses on credential theft and mining, whereas others focus on routing traffic over Tor or I2P.
Oh, they're using I2P?
I know. They hardly ever use I2P. It's like they'll use Tor.
Yeah, I haven't used I2P in a couple of years, but way back in the day, I used to find it really impressive because it had a lot, at the time at least. Tor has gotten better at this, but it used to be I2P's hidden services, or they have a different name for them on I2P, like EAP sites and so forth would be one example. It used to be a lot faster.
Yeah.
Than Tor's. The Tor has gotten better with that.
Yeah, I used to have a friend who was an I2P dev, and he told me that everything that could go wrong with an open source project did go wrong with an open source project when it came to I2P.
The original developer just kind of disappeared. I want to say maybe wrote a note about I'm gonna have to go away to take care of some personal stuff, and then never came back. And one of the ideas is that maybe the guy had some kind of disease, health problem, like cancer or something, and just passed away, and never came back to the project because he was always anonymous, or she was anonymous. We don't know. I've met the current person, at least the last person I knew who was kind of heading up the project, ZZZ, at DEF CON a couple times.
ZZZ, what's that?
That was the name of the like one of the lead developers. After the first guy passed away, or we don't know what happened to the guy actually, ZZZ kind of took the helm and helped steer it.
Oh, cool. I love shit like this. Not because any political reason or shit like that. I just love these kind of attacks where they go after major shit like infrastructure stuff. So 2 cyber attacks hit Israel's water system. The first attack was in April, and they tried to modify the chlorine levels in the water. So according to the water authority in Israel, last week they had one attack previous, and now they have another one. The first attack hit the agricultural water pumps in Upper Galilee, and the second one hit the water pumps in the central province of Mata Yehuda. As you can see, I am not Jewish. I cannot pronounce these words properly. These were specific small drainage installations in the agriculture sector that were immediately and independently repaired by locals, and it caused no harm or real-world effects, according to the water authority in a statement. The 2 attacks come after Israel suffered a cyber attack on its water supply in April. It goes on. It talks about how they never attributed the April attack, but the Washington Post is citing foreign intelligence officials who think it was Iran. And they're saying it was most likely payback for an attack that happened in April. The attacks on Israel's water utilities, however, seem to be an important moment between the 2 countries. It marks the start of a series of mysterious accidents and explosions detected across Iran's critical infrastructure, such as petrochemical plants, nuclear fuel enrichment centers, power plants, ports, and more. So maybe before you go screwing with Israel, who's got some awesome hackers, you don't. Looks like an actual cyber war going on between these two now, between Iran and Israel. And they've got some maps of different places that were hit. There was a power plant, actually 2 power plants, the petrochemical place, an SSM facility, a nuclear enrichment facility, another petrochemical plant. So I guess war has kind of moved into the digital space now, where we're just attacking each other's critical infrastructure, which hopefully is going to be secured so it doesn't get attacked. I mean, if you're ever on Shodan, you know there's tons of stuff exposed that is like IoT type shit that should not be exposed, and a lot of it's on SCADA networks, and there's technically supposed to be physically segmented, but sometimes it leaks online somehow. Go after a low-hanging fruit there.
Now you can mess with the chlorine in the water. What's the point? You just increase the chlorine levels where it's dangerous for people to consume?
I'd imagine that would be the case. I mean,
Yeah.
if
Chlorine attacks are very simple, very cheap, easy to do chemical attacks because it's a simple asphyxiant. You basically you start breathing it in, it causes you to develop acid in your lungs, and you'll basically drown and suffocate. So it's easy attack to make.
yeah, especially when you've got access to the pumps that inject that stuff into the water, and you just tell it to put hundreds of times more into it.
Yeah, I mean it's a attack as old as the Middle Ages. You poison the enemy's well, and now they don't have water.
Yep. The next thing we've got is pretty cool. It's an attack called Bad Power, and it can actually set your phone on fire. It alters the firmware of fast charger devices to deliver extra voltage and then damage the connected equipment.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was found by some security researchers who said they can alter the firmware of fast chargers to cause damage to connected charging systems, such as the ability to melt components and even set the devices themselves on fire.
I know if you do the wrong things to a lithium-ion battery, you can.
Yeah, if you overcharge it or undercharge it, they can explode.
Yeah.
I remember seeing something like that happen on accident at DEF CON once. It was like a phone caught fire in someone's back pocket.
Yeah, that's basically what happens when a battery starts to swell. Is it's having a reaction, and that swelling is the precursor to basically a fire.
Right. I actually had a shitty like $50 laptop from China at one point, and it was a piece of shit. It was like ARM based, and the battery just blew up in the back, like it looked like a balloon. And me not knowing any better, just took a pin and deflated it.
Oh, you dumb bastard!
Oh, Ill Will was kind of
thankfully.
All right, my battery is
Paper,
and Ill Will said some shit like, "Yeah, just put a hole in it; it'll be okay." Something along those lines.
And you believed him?
No, no. I didn't believe him at all. I know Ill Will. I was like, no, I ain't doing that.
Yeah. So this attack works by corrupting the firmware on a charger of a device. And it was developed in the past few years. It takes advantage of the fast charge feature, and it corrupts it, and makes it malfunction essentially by either telling it to put too much voltage in, or it tells the, like, some fast chargers, they support 5 volts, some support 5 and 12 volts. This thing, some even support 20 volts for really fast charging. This alters the default charging parameters to deliver more voltage than the device can handle. And then it degrades and damages the components. They heat up, they bend, they melt, and they catch fire. Pretty neat attack. Remember years ago,
the commercial use for this, other than just the. So this is basically just someone being an asshole.
Right, you fuck with the firmware on somebody's phone when they're not looking, and then they go and plug it in later, and the thing just blows up. That's essentially, I'm seeing that's kind of how it would work.
I gotta find that old meme about computer bomb.
What about the one with the FBI charging station at like DEF CON? The FBI is, plug your phone in here; it'll be fine.
Here, I'll put it in the chat here.
Did many people actually use that? Because at DEF CON, I'm not hooking up to anybody's cable but my own.
Yeah, or use the USB condom because, physically disconnect those circuits, bitch.
I usually carry around my own battery charger, so that I'm good for a couple days on one of these huge batteries that I got. But I don't understand why anybody would hook up like that.
Like I said, use a USB condom because it's a physical interrupt between the data circuits, so you're only carrying power. Because I have seen this in public where it's like, oh, public charging station for your phone. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
I would love to pop like a Raspberry Pi in one of those stations and have a bunch of exploits ready to go for different phones. Fun.
They make those. I mean, I'm pretty sure they have one of those for like the rubber ducky or the pineapple.
Right. So out of 35 fast chargers that they tested, 18 were vulnerable. So that means 18 models from 8 different vendors that they tested were vulnerable to this attack. And most of the problems can be fixed just by updating your device's firmware, but not every manufacturer puts out firmware updates for their phones anymore. And if this attack is done to your phone, there is pretty much no way for you to reverse it. When you plug in the USB cable to interface with it, you're going to also be drawing current, and then you're going to nuke your phone.
Well, you could probably do it with a dumb charger that only supplies a set amount of voltage, so it wouldn't do that. That's probably the only way you could safely charge at that point until you get, I guess, a firmware reflash.
Yeah, scary shit. I mean, can you imagine like somebody put that technology in maybe a phone charging station at an airport, and then they got on the plane when they go charge their phone? Scary shit.
Yeah, actually, the amount of power you have in some of these LiPo batteries. On my vaporizer here, somehow I got slightly busted, and I've kind of improvised it to work. But if I put the batteries in wrong, I've seen within like less than a second, some of the contact leads turn red hot.
Yeah, don't. That's I have some battery storage caddies for my backpack, and yeah, it's like whenever I put batteries in there, I put them with positive, negative, negative, because you don't want to store them with positive, negative, because they will like some of them will get so hot they'll flash weld or they'll start a fire. It's don't fuck around with some of the lithium batteries.
All right, the next we have the Emotet botnet returns after a 5-month absence. So it's been gone 5 months, and now it's back. They went dark like February 7th of 2020, and they've miraculously returned to life today. The botnet runs from 3 separate server clusters known as Epoch 1, 2, and 3. And they spew out spam and try and infect new users with their malware payload. The emails usually contain a Word attachment or a URL linking to the download of a Word document that contains malicious macros, which, if enabled by a dumbass user, will download and install Emotet. If you ever download a Word document from an untrusted source and it asks you, hey, you want to run some macros? Click no. The campaign is ongoing and has reached around 250,000 messages so far today, and started up again today. So, Cryptolamus is a group of researchers dedicated to detecting and tracking Emotet, and they've confirmed its comeback along with CSIS and Malwarebytes, Abuse.ch, and Spamhaus. It's all good shit. And the gang is operating a spam email infrastructure that they're using to infect users and yada, yada, yada. It essentially repeats the same thing it said earlier, and then talks about how this is the second major break from Emotet that's taken place in the past 2 years. So it's back. I guess they got bored, shut it down, wait a few months, let's bring it back up. I wonder if it's the same operators or if maybe they sold it to somebody else. Somebody got a message.
Oh yeah, something's buzzing off my phone.
Next, we have a pretty cool one. Who here has heard of jackpotting ATMs?
Oh yeah, I know what that is.
Jackpotting, basically making it shoot out money like in Terminator 2.
Yeah. So there's a new black box device which is being used by attackers, and it's actually got the software that is on the ATMs itself, rather than just like the ability to act as like a debug terminal. This is an actual copy of the software on the ATMs, and it can trick the ATMs into doing all sorts of shit. Now, yes, you can spit out money and all those things, but it's not as easy as just like walking up to the machine. You actually would have to physically get inside of it. And there's different ways you can do that. You can drill a hole and then insert a USB device, or if you know like where that hole would be, you just drill a hole right there and then stick your shit in there. And once you plug in using this new black box device, it's got the same software that the ATM has, so you can tell it just spit out money.
Don't most of those use like a standard key?
I don't know. I've never really done too much research into hacking
Okay.
systems. But from what this article says, there are different types of jackpotting attacks that are out there. And this particular attack is essentially installing malware on the ATM using what's called a black box. So you have to unfasten the ATM outer case to get access to its ports, or cut a hole, get access to the USB port. A lot of them are using a Raspberry Pi for this, attached with a little screen so they can see what they're doing. If you're going to go through that much trouble, I don't know why you wouldn't just bring a laptop with you. Apparently, this is extremely popular with some criminal gangs. It's a lot easier than installing skimming equipment or cloning cards or having to launder money. All they have to do is get access to the innards of the box and have it spit out cash. So it's been used on Diebold Nixdorf ProCash 2050 XE ATMs.
I think I may have asked. Oh, I think I accidentally deleted the Nixdorf thing. I didn't know that Diebold had acquired Nixdorf.
Apparently so.
That was after my time.
It was also after Kennedy was the CEO, was the CIO over there.
Yeah, and as Dave Rodolph often say in talks, he's like, "Yeah, I came on well after the voting machines. The voting machines, I think the stuff was back in like 2000. They didn't make a whole lot of money off of it, and I think they ended up selling off that interest to some other company because they didn't make a whole lot of money off of it, but it was a lot of bad PR."
So in Belgium, 143 ATMs have been hit with this attack in the last 2 months. One in June, one last weekend as well. And the attacks are considered, where is it? So the attackers are essentially connecting to the ATM with USB and emptying the cash dispenser, which is what I said before. The ATMs are attacked. Fraud experts are doing investigations, and yeah, that's pretty much the article. There's not much more to it than that, but it's pretty cool. I mean, if you know where that USB port is, and you bring like a little Dremel with you at like 2 a.m. and just like stick your little device in there and have the shit spit out money, it's pretty neat. And like that, was it Terminator 2?
Yep, easy money.
Yeah, that was neat. It'd be so cool if that were a reality.
Yeah, it'd also be nice if they made another good Terminator movie.
They can't. The franchise has ruined it.
I thought Genesis was okay, but everything else, I guess 3 was a downgrade massively from 2. The 3 was okay. The 4th one, they went with a different thing where they set it all in the future. That was kind of interesting, but I actually like Genesis, though a lot of other people didn't. I haven't seen. I think they should have continued the Genesis timeline if they could have, because it was better than some of the other shit. But I haven't seen Dark Fate yet, and I don't want to give any spoilers. But for what I've been told about Dark Fate, I think I'll skip it. I mean, I'll probably eventually watch it just to see if it's as bad as people say it is.
I saw it. It was okay, but not really great.
They kind of destroyed though they made some of the other movies pointless. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens with time travel movies. You're always gonna screw over the plot of stuff that's happened before if you go on long enough. Like how could Reese be John Connor's dad if you didn't know him originally? So how did he even exist if it's like,
well, it depends on which view of time travel you have. If you think time is fairly fixed, then you have time loops where the same event comes back around and things.
People think of time travel as a strict progression from cause to effect, when in reality, it's just a big ball of timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly garbage.
See, I don't get. I've watched some Doctor Who, and I kind of liked it when they first did the reboot. Well, not exactly. It wasn't even a reboot. It was like restarted after years and years and years, and it had Christopher Eccleston in it. And I thought that was pretty good. And I watched a little bit more. But dude, and I know some people who love Doctor Who, but I want a little bit more continuity than that. You know.
I love Doctor Who. It's like my favorite show, and the newer episodes, I actually think Jodie is a pretty decent actress, and she plays the role really well. But I think the writing for the episodes is horrible. It's like, yeah, I could buy a female Doctor Who doctor, but the writing in these episodes is just so bad, and so just social justice warrior-y and preachy too. Anyway, next we've got a SharePoint vulnerability. It's actual RCE with the latest version of SharePoint. It's labeled CVE 2020-1147. It's got a severity of 9.8 out of 10, and it also impacts the .NET framework and Visual Studio. Microsoft did release a fix for it in the monthly security updates, but if you're hosting your own SharePoint server and you haven't updated it in a while, it's probably a really good idea to update it. That being said, this exploit requires that you have a low privileged account on the SharePoint server to use it. So it's not like somebody can just find your SharePoint server and then launch an attack against it. They got to already have an account on it. So that limits it a lot as to its usability for, for exploitation. Still, it's a pretty good vuln. I mean, you got a disgruntled employee that can take over your SharePoint server. That could be bad. Project Zero talked about that. Okay. And last but not least, in the regular part of the show notes, we've got this, I guess you'd call it a worm, that's going around and deleting unsecured databases. It's called Meow. And dozens of unsecured databases exposed to the public web are now targets of an automated attack that's destroying data with no explanation whatsoever. They're mostly going after Elasticsearch and MongoDB instances, very indiscriminately, leaving no explanation and no ransom note. People on Shodan have found dozens of databases that have been affected by this attack already. And the attacks have pushed researchers into a race to find exposed databases themselves and report them responsibly before they become meowed. That's pretty funny. Cat's out of the bag. The most recent publicly known exploit example of Meow is an Elasticsearch database belonging to a VPN provider that claimed they did not keep any logs. Discovered by researcher Don Diakmenko, the database was initially secured in July, only to become exposed again 5 days later. And the second time, although no owner received a well-intentioned email notification, they instead got meowed, with all of their records getting wiped. The attack appears to be an automated script that's overwriting and destroying data completely and indiscriminately. And it could be the work of a vigilante trying to give systems administrators a hard lesson in security by raining destruction on unsecured data. I'm in favor of that. Whoa, thunderstorm. Holy shit. If I glitch out, you know why. Also, the first Meow attacks were just a few days ago, and they're ramping up exponentially, getting faster. More and more places are getting hit by it, and it's likely they're going to keep going after unsecured databases and aggressively destroying them. So if you are a systems administrator, make sure that your databases are password protected and not exposed. And if they are, well, that's going to suck. That's it for the rest of the show notes there. We got other shit, though, about what's going on in Portland.
Well, we'll get to that. We got an A part in there first.
Oh.
So question for people, and I had this in a poll. Not even a poll. I just asked the question: how short of a time between job hops becomes a red flag? Because there's a lot of movement in IT in general, and also, of course, infosec by extension. I think especially infosec, but people with what I would consider relatively short job tenures.
Especially if you're working as a contractor. I mean, you could be with the place for 6 months, finish the contract, and then you move on to someplace else.
That is true. I haven't been on one of those contract type jobs. I've worked in mostly places where I think my minimum work time was maybe 6 years or something.
Yeah, I've had jobs for many years, and it's just I don't really tend to do that anymore. I stay at a place for like a few years and then usually move on, like maybe 1 or 2 years, get my skills, and then I hit the part where there's really no upward mobility, and then I move someplace else where I get a better position for more money. I think that's the way it is with a lot of people nowadays. It's like used to be you would get a job with a company and you stay with them for 25 years and then you'd retire.
That was the way it was for my Uncle Mel, my great Uncle Mel. But since him, I mean, even the baby boomers, I don't think generally had that kind of situation.
It's hard. I mean, companies lay you off all the time now, especially in this atmosphere where everyone's either working from home or it's like if they can find somebody in India who can do what you're doing and we're now working from home, guess what? You're going to get replaced because it's going to be cheaper to have them work with that person.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite as bad for security because I don't believe as many companies trust foreign interests to secure their stuff. I think a lot of people in security do want to hire someone within the nation, but I could be wrong on that. Maybe that's just
you are to a degree, but not every company is that stringent. Some companies, they're like, if we can save money, I mean like a lot of money, I can have like 5 employees for the cost of 1. If I outsource, why the fuck wouldn't I?
The problem is a lot of those companies that are doing that have learned their lesson before because they would outsource and get really shit tier workers and end up losing more money, or they would lose employees. Unfortunately, some companies are taking this longer to learn that lesson than others, like IBM. IBM is pushing hard for outsourcing and they've losing clients left and right. They have lost Disney and many other big ones that were very good to them for a long time, but because they kept offshoring and their quality was definitely declining, then they started leaving them. So, and their solution is offshore more because we're losing money.
Right. It's like a downward spiral.
Yeah, and most companies are smart enough to pull out of that and realize that's a stupid idea, but they're focused on short-term gains. And unfortunately, most companies are not like that. Most companies are at least a little more long-term thinking.
Yeah,
Not necessarily long-term, but a little more long-term.
I've read a lot of stories on Reddit about like places where their company is outsourcing, and like one was a call center, and they decided they're going to outsource to India, and then the people in India didn't know how to do the job. Like they didn't know how to. It wasn't just a script. It's like you actually had to do troubleshooting stuff, and they had no idea how to do it. And because of that, they would then refer back to like the one person they had in the U.S. and they just keep sending them phone calls. Like the phone call would originally go to India, and then they'd be like they transfer you to the guy in America who actually knew what the fuck he was doing. But there was only one dude now, and like a whole shit ton of people in India.
Uh-huh.
So it was. Yeah, there's a lot of good stories on Reddit like that.
Yeah, there's one story I heard from somebody that was some article that there was this guy, I believe he was an American, who outsourced his own job to India,
I
and
saw that.
because he could make because the Indian folks would work for a lot cheaper than he would, and so he just took the money that and
Hey, it's a programmer.
was on vacation. I think he had to take the occasional call and so forth, but
Yeah. I mean, I've outsourced shit, but not work shit. Like I outsourced stuff when I was in college that I didn't want to do.
Shit.
It was like, I don't feel like coding this capstone project.
I don't know where it's to India, but I remember Aaron Clary used to advertise for some company that would basically write your term papers and shit for you.
You gotta be careful with those companies because a lot of them have like just banks of term papers that they've.
Yeah, that's will get caught in the various anti-plagiarism. Oh, what is that? There's a particular piece of software or service that a lot of universities use, and I'm trying to think.
Blackboard.
No, not Blackboard. There's an actual plagiarism piece of software.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, where it scans it for things. Yeah.
I actually had a coworker who would constantly give me very plagiarized work when I asked him to do things for me, and I ran one of his things through that, and it told me that he had pulled from like 5 different sources and just copied and pasted it into there. He's like, "This is where I got that from."
Yeah, I'd like to get access to Turnitin sometime. That's the one service I know off the top of my head.
It's free
and test it
5 papers a day.
Oh, I don't know the free ones.
Turn it in. It's free for like 5 papers a day.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. I have to test some things out because I want to see if I can get away with something if I used Unicode homoglyphs.
You and the homoglyphs. You got the freaking homoglyph generator on your site. You know what, Adrian? You are a homoglyph.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny going back real fast. I've worked over the years. I think I've worked with maybe 4 or 5 people from India and kind of overseas in general who are like from a third world country, not necessarily from like Western Europe or like that, who are actually pretty competent, who could actually think critically and I could trust to actually get the job done. Most of them, it was a case of like, you basically have to give them the step-by-step instruction, which works for some really basic shit, but as you know, there's a lot of shit that we do that goes beyond basic, where you have to critically think and analyze and learn to Google, and the problem is they just don't do that. So, yeah, I don't see why you'd want to offshore that when they're just not going to. The quality is not there. I don't understand it.
For some employers, I don't think it's a matter of quality; it's a matter of quantity.
Yeah, I guess cost. They don't perceive that quality loss until it happens.
Yeah.
But okay, well, back to the original part of the question though. Assuming it's not like contract work, what would be a reasonable amount of time to work a gig before leaving to not be a red flag?
I'd say at least 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months to a year. If it's a contract, obviously it's a little different. But if it's a regular position, I would say 6 months minimum. You're preferred.
Yep, I'll be right back.
That seems really short to me. It
does, but you're also coming from a perspective, or you used to work for someone for 10 years or more, and that doesn't happen anymore, especially in IT. A lot of people looking inwards in IT go, that's so short, but in the IT world, a year is a lifetime. I mean, I've worked at my current employer for 2.5 years now, and it feels like a lot longer than that. So
I'm trying to think about the shortest time. Actually, now that I think about it, there was one job I had for only 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, see, my first job, I worked there for a year and a half, and I worked at my second job for like 3 months before I was fired. Then I worked my next job for like another year and a half, and then for I think 6 or 8 months was that one, and then another year, and then like 6 weeks. That was a contract role, and then like just over a year, just either over or under. I can't remember which one it was. So and then I spent like 4 years contracting, so that was a lot of like 2 months, 3 months in there. So yeah, whenever I've done contracting work, I usually lump it all in like one big category because I don't want to have like 500 options in there that then I go, what the fuck, and I go, oh, they're all contracts. Oh, okay. I don't even want to have that question get asked.
Understandable. I want to wait for Frank to get back to continue the rest of this. I just like the stability, man. I like the stability of a job that I can do for a while. And if I want to do some side contract work, you know, some 1099 stuff, that's fine and dandy. But like my current job isn't the highest I've ever been paid, but the benefits are really good.
I mean, you can absolutely do that whenever the hell you want, as long as you don't worry about any kind of conflict of interest stuff. That's something you gotta check. Make sure, see if you signed a conflict. You probably did, but you probably signed a conflict of interest. So you want to make sure that you're not going to violate that and what the terms of that are.
Not that people can't figure it out easy. I'm not going to say where I work now, but that conflict of interest, unless it involves someone directly for work. I mean, I can consult outside without necessarily having a problem, as long as it's not a project that I'm already consulting on internal. And being what I do internal, it's not likely to conflict.
Well, okay. Do you work for a company that outsources, or I wouldn't say outsources, but services other companies or other industries, things like that?
Not other companies, no.
Okay, so all the work you do is internal to the company?
Not exactly. I'll talk to you off air. It's a little bit more.
Well, okay. Well, I know you always can't get specific, but so that's kind of the big thing is like with a conflict of interest is if you're working for a company that services others, like for example, Caprico works for a pen testing company, so he can't service any of their clients because that's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So that's something you have to consider as well, is who are the clients of your company, who are the clients that you work with.
The clientele from my day job is way different than the clientele from the people who send me 1099 work.
Yeah, then that's usually no conflict. But you also want to make sure that that's allowed, because some places actually have a conflict of interest where like you can't do anything in the same field. So you got to check that. That's usually pretty rare. Most of the time, it's a case of you cannot service any of our clients, basically, and you can't do any work that would negatively impact your day job. So I can't do any like serious nighttime work because it might keep me from being able to sleep, and I couldn't do my day job, kind of thing.
A lot of my stuff I can do on the weekends as necessary.
Yeah, and that's usually not a problem then. But again, it's one of those things for you and anyone else kind of listening is check your conflict of interest paperwork that you signed, because that will tell you usually pretty clearly up front like what you can and can't do.
Okay.
And I mean, worst case is talk to HR and ask, hey, what can't I do with this? Make sure that you're following the company's best interests. Because if you're showing that you're actually trying to work within within their rules, that looks better for you.
Yeah.
That brings me to our last thing. What's going on in Portland? You have people talking about Trump's Gestapo arresting innocent people, unmarked and so forth. But I've been looking more into this, and maybe some of that could be happening. But apparently there's a bunch of protesters, or you want to call them that, or rioters, trying to break in. And I think they have successfully before and did some lighting on fire things at a federal court building in Portland.
Yeah, they broke down the plywood, and a guy grabbed like a fire extinguisher and he started trying to break the window.
Yeah, I have a video that Adam Kringler posted in the show notes about this, and I'm like, so far, at least in those cases, the cops shouldn't be showing a fair amount of restraint considering what the rioters are going about doing.
And some of these rioters are wearing like freaking bike helmet, not bike helmets, but like motorcycle helmets, and like one guy's walking around in a freaking gas mask. It's like,
so far the worst video I've seen as far as incriminating the cops is there was this one person that has the medic symbol on him. By the way, anybody can be a fucking medic, and I've heard from other places that people will put on that they're a reporter or put on like some kind of medical looking patch on them and claim to be a medic, but are still part of the rioting. Though that particular person who got arrested, who had the Red Cross on them, not that they were part of the Red Cross, but they had themselves marked as a medic. One of the police YouTube channels I listen to, Donut Operator, indicated that to him it almost looks like an informant extraction, because you obviously can't.
Yeah.
If you have a bunch of people infiltrating these groups, you can't just have them bebop down to whatever you are. Like, let's say a police station. No, that doesn't apply in this case, because the police have been basically told by Ted Wheeler, who I get the impression is an incredible wimp, that not to do anything. But let's say these federal agents want to talk to somebody. Obviously, one of these informants can't just walk into the federal courthouse or wherever they're at and you give out the information. So what they'll do is they'll go out there and arrest them, bring them in, ask them questions, interview them, because they're actually working for the feds, and then put them back out on the street.
Yeah, that was something they pointed out. Was the guy who got picked up? He basically, as soon as they pulled up, he put his hands behind his back. They grabbed him. They put him in the van. They didn't zip cuff him, anything like that, which is kind of like, because they're not going to load you into the vehicle without fucking securing you first. That means they're going to put handcuffs, zip cuffs, something like that.
Yeah, every time I've been put in a police car, they've always cuffed me.
Yeah, they're going to for your safety and their safety.
I had heard that the people who they were grabbing were people who had damaged federal property, which is the only reason the feds were going after them instead of local police.
Yeah, I had seen one report that they were further distance from where the riots and so forth were happening. But I'm not sure how I trust it. But I see a lot of people in InfoSec. How do you put it this way? What's the term? Without any kind of skepticism, automatically assuming that yes, they're rounding up protesters who have done nothing else but just peacefully protest. And for what I've seen in the videos, I don't know if that's the case.
Well, what you have so far is you have the Attorney General of the area. You say feds are doing this. You have the governor saying feds stop doing this, and Trump saying fuck you, we're doing this. So
but they have the right and actually the duty to at least protect that federal courthouse. That's what
on federal property, yes. But once someone gets off federal property, I mean, from my understanding, they were arresting people several blocks away, at the very least.
I have to get more confirmation of that. Though, if you can identify someone who was breaking into that building, and I've seen people like breaking the flywall. I've seen one video of this guy waiting outside of the building to try to hit a cop or a fed in the head with a hammer.
So, all right, let's just say this is all happening. What would the justification be for them being in unmarked vans, unmarked vehicles, plain clothes?
Well, I haven't seen plain clothes. The videos I've seen, they've been in a uniform. As far as
names, they don't have any names on their uniform. It's just like
yes, because they don't want to get doxxed. The kind of people that are coming against doxxed. I saw this one video where they were talking about there is an identification number on them. Though I don't know how easy that is to spot. But the people I've seen have not been unmarked. Now, the vehicles may have been. The justification for unmarked vehicles is if you have a bunch of feds showing up in a new city to defend an area, where are they going to get their vehicles? Rental. That would be one justification for that. But the people I've seen doing the arresting have been in uniforms with some markings of what agencies they're on. They don't have their names on them because of doxing reasons, because let's face it, these far-left activists will go out of their way to dox people and fuck with their family. So there is supposedly an identifying number, though, on the uniform, though I haven't seen exactly where that number is supposed to be. This is just from Ted Cruz retweeted one of the videos where a guy was discussing this. And we're talking about people who have been doing this rioting and shit since, what has it been, a month and a half? Mm-hmm. And even if you go back in Portland, way back over a year ago, weren't they redirecting traffic and harassing people who were just driving and trying to redirect traffic? I believe they tried to assault this one old dude who was just trying to get through. I mean, they have been, how do you put this way? They've been behaving in very erratic and terrorizing ways, and the local mayor doesn't want to do shit about it.
Well, it's not up to the feds to be traffic cops.
No, and actually they weren't the traffic thing. The traffic thing just went unabated. No one stopped them. That wasn't what the feds were doing. The feds are a more recent thing.
Even so, I'm just very wary from a federalism standpoint. Feds deliberately ignoring what the local government officials are saying in terms of enforcement.
Is not doing anything whatsoever. Letting it happen.
Detaining, that's irrelevant. I mean, where in the Constitution does it say if the local government does nothing, the feds step in?
Okay, but when the feds have stepped in, they didn't step in on the traffic redirection and blocking roads and shit. they started stepping in. My understanding with this federal courthouse.
Now,
Did you see the thing in California where they had a Black Lives Matter street art thing, and one of the residents said, "If you can have that, I want a MAGA 2020 street art thing," and then they just got rid of the Black Lives Matter one.
Fuck, that was fucking good. I watched a few minutes of the Tim cast to show that, and like that's great. It's fucking equal.
Yeah, I
you want your shit? Fuck you.
A Matt L. Christensen video and a Tim Cast video discussing the entire issue. But I'm thinking that the mainstream media is portraying this as, they're only arresting innocent protesters, and I don't think that's the case.
well, considering they're being supposedly being selective in who they're arresting, I'm assuming there is some kind of criteria other than they were physically in the wrong place at the wrong time. Be that as it may, it's still off of federal property that they were doing the action. That's really.
What if they were just spray painting like a courthouse, and then they saw somebody and they went running? Are you allowed to arrest them now, or do you have to let them go because they're not on federal property anymore?
I don't know. I imagine there is some kind of rules in the book, laws in the book for that, because people crossing jurisdiction in the middle of a case can't possibly be an uncommon thing. Well, can't possibly be so uncommon as to never be have no procedures around it.
I don't know. I guess if you will keep everything on the up and up, I guess the best thing to do if you're a law-abiding citizen of a place like Portland, get the fuck out of Portland. If the mayor is going to be such a pussy that he's not actually going to enforce laws, get the fuck out of Portland. Because unfortunately, my understanding is, I don't know how popular Mayor Wheeler is, but my understanding in Portland, they're pretty damn far left, and my understanding is, they're the ones voting his ass in, so I don't know what to say.
Well, I mean, if the others aren't voting, then they aren't voting. They have no one to blame but themselves in that case.
Well, I imagine they are voting. They're just massively outnumbered.
Could be. I don't know.
Also, what was up with that? I believe it was in Portland. The nude chick.
No clue.
You didn't see the ones that showed up in the street. There's one nude woman. She had nothing on, but basically some head covering.
Nope.
Shit. Okay, I can't show it on the stream. Yeah, but look up nude protest. I can't believe y'all haven't seen this one.
Nope.
I don't see anything. Nude protester. No.
All right, hold on a second. I got to find this. I can't put it on the stream, but let's see.
Let's see one chick. Yeah, here we go. Cassandra. Cover of Time magazine. Nude protester has been dubbed Naked Athena.
Yep, that's her.
She squares off against Portland law enforcement.
Squares off. What do you mean by squares off? They're all looking at this amused. And what exactly is the point of her being naked there? Other than it's going to really hurt if she gets hit by a rubber ball.
And she's got her legs spread too. I mean, what the fuck?
Things are getting weird out there. I don't know, and people don't want to necessarily enforce any kind of law and order. Well, at least not locally. But I'm honestly not sure what's going on because the mainstream media is reporting it one way, and other sources are reporting things differently. And I'll guess the truth is somewhat in the middle. But when I see them doing to that courthouse, I'm like, and the aggressive way they're treating the cops inside the courthouse, I'm surprised someone hasn't been Kent stated yet.
Yeah. They got their kid gloves on, you know. Yeah. Under strict orders, like, do not have another situation that's going to cause us even more protesters.
Yeah, but I've seen a bunch of people in InfoSec cover it from a one-sided standpoint and not looking at the other side of this. That a lot of these people that call peaceful protesters aren't that peaceful.
Yeah, they're rioters. There's a difference.
Well, I expect, considering that they have, no, I have not heard that of severe property damage. Yes, there has almost certainly been property damage at ground zero of this whole shitstorm, but have they instituted a Mad Max like world where they're just raiding and looting everything?
There has been some looting.
Themselves?
There was a looting of an Amazon store at the very least. And as far as that federal courthouse, they seem to be doing some pretty bad damage to it. They're breaking through the plywood coverings. At one point, it looked like they were trying to use fencing and cover up part of the building to keep the feds in. Check out some of the videos by like Tim Cast and ML Christensen I posted, and do some looking into some of the stuff that they post, along with some of the stuff that like Andy No is posting. And I know some of the far left hates Andy No, but I'm not necessarily getting these videos from anybody else. So,
well,
and I haven't seen the videos discredited either. So, another thing I love is some of these people who are posting stupid shit like, why aren't the Second Amendment people coming out to defend us since they're so against government overreach? Sorry, you're the kind of fuckers who want to take away our guns in the first place. A lot of you all rioting and looting. We're not getting involved. Not to mention, unless it's something super serious, you're not going to see the 2A people. Now, you will see some of the big pro-gun people who belong to weird affiliations like, right. So as far as I can tell, by the way, these Boogaloo Boys, it's more of a meme than it is an organization. And I have seen some Boogaloo Boys show up at peaceful protests in some videos, but I haven't seen any of those show up at the ones where things are actually getting violent. You kind of have to dig more for the sources to see some of the stuff, but like I said, I'm still not 100% sure what's going on, but I'm seeing a lot of people on my Facebook feed, which I can't comment on right now, posting some really one-sided views on what exactly is going on.
Yeah, but aren't those the same people who tend to post one-sided views about pretty much everything?
Not necessarily usually, but they certainly seem to be right now.
So, like, my main grievance, like, I try, like, I obviously do lean left, but I can definitely be convinced in certain cases. I definitely do not like the far left. I try to listen to all the facts, and the one thing that really rubs me the most about this is the feds are acting on non-federal property in direct opposition to what the mayor has stated. That's the one thing, like, the protesters aside, the federal action, in spite of the local government's orders, that's what really bothers me the most.
But if it's if it happened at the federal building and they're chasing them down after they leave, is that within jurisdiction?
That I don't know, but from what I gather, it is unlikely, very unlikely that several blocks away is within the federal jurisdiction as well. And also, they're not talking about people on foot. They're talking about, unmarked vehicles, plainclothes.
I haven't seen any of the videos with plainclothes.
Well, plainclothes is what the judicial officials from from Portland are stating.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily trust them to tell me the truth.
Well, I trust if the attorney general is making a very specific claim. So I imagine there's some kind of grounding about that.
I've seen public officials in the past say, "Oh, this is completely peaceful. Nothing untoward was happening." I'm like, I've seen the fucking videos. That's not really true.
Yeah, but this is not one of those trope kind of things. I have no reason yet to believe the specific accusation of unmarked vehicles, plainclothes, law enforcement is just a fabrication.
Yeah, all the videos I've seen, they've been in uniforms. They don't have their names on the uniform, which I can understand from a doxing standpoint. But supposedly there is an identification number on them to identify him though. Where exactly it is on there? I've seen the video saying it's there. It's showing an example, but it didn't show me in the example where exactly on the uniform it was.
Well, I don't know what video you watched, and I don't know if those are the officials
I'll
who are
find
being
the
referred to.
notes. It's gonna be one I found via Ted Cruz. Scrolling. Keep scrolling. Oh, this is a good one about peaceful protesters. I'll put that one in there. This will be the first Ted Cruz link. Though I think he's also linking to someone else. And let me see. I'm trying to find the one where he has someone getting interviewed about the uniform situation. I know I saw it. Apparently, there's some business has been set on fire in Portland. Oh, yes. Here's the video. He's retweeting Andy No, but I'll just put the one link in for context. Ted Cruz, and I'll put that in the show notes. I wish Twitter, when you copied a Twitter link, it wouldn't automatically put that S equals 20 in the end. That seems to screw up things whenever you do an archive.
The S equals 20 is my understanding. That's just supposed to mean the 20th post in that thread.
Why is it whenever I copy any tweet, it always says S20?
Are you talking about the question mark S equals 20?
Yes.
Well,
because in this case, I'm choosing the first link in the thread.
That is odd. It's possible that maybe the 19th post in that thread, the person maybe I don't know.
No,
even though it's deleted, it's still a placeholder.
It means something else, man. It has to, because every single time, and I've been doing a lot of archiving recently. Every single time, it's that question mark S equals 20.
That's bizarre. Every time I've seen it over years and years of using Twitter, it's always meant whatever the number is, that number post in the Twitter thread. So I don't know what you're seeing.
Yeah, go test it, man. Every single time for everything. Like I'll right now I'll go to this Ted Cruz one. I'm gonna choose let's say, well, the Cruz one, that's not gonna be great because there's more than one third post. I mean, Twitter branches out. So it can't be the third post or something like that. There's multiple third posts possibly. But like this one, I'm choosing one that is the third post in it. Copy tweet. I'm gonna paste that URL someplace so I can see it. Still, S equals 20. That's the universal.
Maybe they want you to know that S equals 20.
Can you post it in the chat?
Sure. Oh, let's see. I'm posting in the Jitsi chat.
Yep.
Jitsi chat.
Let's see. That does not get me the first tweet in the thread. That gets me a tweet by.
It's giving me the third one. I chose the third one deliberately. If I choose the first one,
in that case, my assumption. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll choose the first one, and it also is going to give me an S20 at the end.
Because I was going to say, I would assume that's just maybe like the 20th tweet, maybe because there's like, how many fucking threads do you think would be in a tweet that has 3,000 responses?
A shitload. But I'm just saying, every time I ever use that little box to choose, copy a link to this tweet, it always puts S20 at the end.
Yeah, it puts S.
I'll go ahead and copy Ted Cruz's tweet and post it in the chat. And let me see if it's S20 or not.
Anyone you copy, it just says that. I just tried it.
All right, I just posted it S19.
What the fuck? Okay.
I don't know why it's 19, but 19.
Well, I choose a different one and see what a different tweet, any other tweet.
Okay, I'll choose the one right after that from William Wecker.
William Wecker.
And it is S equals 19 again.
Okay, mine's always 20. Yours is always 19. Now I'm confused on what exactly that S is meaning.
Maybe some tracking shit.
That's bizarre.
Because for me, it's always S20. But maybe for you, I've not. Has something to do with difference in client? Does it have something to do with difference in our location ourselves?
I'm S20 also. Are you using Chrome?
I'm using Firefox.
Yeah, so it's not browser.
I'm using the mobile client at the moment.
All right, I'm gonna try one that is. Now we've gotten off the original subject.
There was a subject? My God, I had no idea.
I'm gonna have some crazy fucker because of this research also, and going into this and expressing different opinion. You know that one particular fucker who calls everybody a fascist? I'm probably gonna be getting some shit from that motherfucker.
That guy's a fascist.
All right, even in Chrome, I get a S equals 20, so it's not
The
just
mobile client gives him S equals 19. I wonder if he were to go to the to a browser and go to Twitter and just
actually. I'm gonna try it from my phone and see what happens. Now I'm not gonna be able to paste it into the chat, so you have to take my word for this.
I don't know if I can believe you, Adrian.
All right, I'm gonna do this with my phone. If I do it with my phone, it says S equals 19.
There you go. Mobile client is 19 and desktop client is 20. We cracked the code.
And something along those lines. And one was from an Android phone, and one was from a Macintosh. Anyway, things yet we see, but on this kind of thing, I would definitely go with looking for videos on Twitter. No, I don't say using Twitter as a news source is generally a great idea, but I get the impression that some parts of the media are trying to cast this one way, and other parts of the media are trying to cast this a different way. Like if you watch CNN and Fox News, I pretty much guarantee you're gonna get two entirely different interpretations of what's going on in Portland.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
You mean the media lies to you?
I've also heard that the federal officials who've been in Portland have been using non-lethal rounds but aiming for the head. Which at that point they're less non-lethal.
Yeah, if you take a rubber slug or a beanbag round to the head, it's gonna kill you. The blunt trauma will kill you.
That, or it doesn't kill you, you have a good chance to be blinded.
The rubber bullet has to be shot at the ground.
Yeah, there was someone at some protest and or riot. I withhold judgment until I see more footage. That someone who lost an eye because they got hit. I don't know. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I don't know if they got hit by a rubber bullet or if they got hit by a tear gas canister. Either one will fuck you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's like a launched tear gas round, like a grenade launcher, they come out of a pretty good velocity. They can break bones. So they're not gentle little things.
I think one of our regulars. Now I'm trying to think of one of our regulars actually lives in Portland or Seattle. I think it's Seattle, so I don't know if we can ask him.
Ask him to drive over to Portland.
Today,
get in the car.
Well, my geography of that area of the United States is not that firm. I'm pretty sure that's not a short trip.
That's fine. He has nothing better to do.
Actually, I'm curious. Maps.
Wait, who are you thinking of, Adrian?
I'll say later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone on the cast is up in the Northwest at all.
He's sometimes very rarely on the cast.
Oh, okay.
All right. So if that's it for our cast, we should probably cut the YouTube stream.
All right. Let me go ahead and do as such. Everybody, thank you very much. Check you all out next Wednesday. You'll have a lovely evening.
That was a short cast.
Yeah.